You're listening to Where You Live with Gene Sullivan.
Welcome back to Where You Live. I'm Gene Sullivan, broadcasting from the True North Painting Studios. Before we get back to our story about what's happening at the Orland Park townhomes in Illinois with claims of discrimination, I'd like to just let you know, of course, that I am being brought to you by American Family Insurance, the Kim Bennett Agency, and Extreme Exteriors. And for all of our listeners, I also want to let you know we have a free gift for you. We put together a bi-monthly newsletter called What's New. A lot of what we discuss and cover on the show is covered in further detail in that newsletter. People that we have on the show are also contributors. It's a free resource. Thousands and thousands of homeowners everywhere throughout the Twin Cities are receiving it. It's yours free for the asking. Give us a call at New Concepts during the week at 952-922-2500. Ask for Lori, and she'll make sure that you start receiving your copy either electronically or by mail. If you're just joining us, I'm saying that with this particular association, it sure appears that at best, they're just fools in the way that they are going about changing their governing documents and rules. At worst, they're showing that they are racist. And this upcoming lawsuit that the Orland Park townhomes is receiving is something that looks like is probably truly warranted just because of what we know has taken place so far. The association had in it one member who was renting out his unit. When it became available, his unit became available again, he began showing it to other people that were African Americans. Immediately after that showing, a neighbor came up and said, "You're not going to rent out to those people, are you?" And then gave a racial slur. And the landlord was indignant, moved on. But then apparently a couple days later, the association sent out a letter saying they wanted to make changes to the rental policy. Then they were changing it again, saying no rentals are allowed. We've changed the governing documents, and it seemed very quick, very arbitrary for this to all take place. And so now the Attorney General of the state of Illinois is now getting involved, saying, yeah, it sure looks like discrimination is taking place. And so if you are going to change your rules as an HOA, if you're going to change your governing documents, I want to go through with you a little bit of what are some things you need to remember. Rule number one, are you ready for this? Rule number one for all HOAs, for all homeowner associations, is this: don't make hasty rules. Okay? Why? Because it's important to be deliberate. When you're deliberate and you're slow in the process and not just real quick, and I see this happen from time to time with HOAs. Someone thinks that there's an issue or a problem, and what they want to do is they say there's got to be a rule for it, and bam, they want to write something right away, whether or not this is a major issue or not, because someone somewhere sees this as an issue, and doggone it, we're going to just take care of it. But it's important to be deliberate. Why? Because it allows for you to think, why are you going to have this rule in the first place? Is the issue at hand that you want to see corrected, is this a one-time thing that's happening with one person? Well, if it is, you may not want to make a major case of this and make a special ruling just for that, because it's not necessary. And if it is something that's happening over and over again, something you want to address, you need to know, how is it going to affect all of the members? Because if you're on a board of an association, you're not living in a monarchy. You don't get to decide by fiat. You have a fiduciary responsibility to say, what is it that the majority of the homeowners want? And if the majority of the homeowners don't want pets, well, then you can go ahead and craft something that will state that. If you want to state that no rentals are going to be allowed, well, then you can do that. But in this case of the Orland Park townhomes, as we went through it, they were making things, they were changing things a couple times in 1 month in trying to address something. And even if they weren't racist, they sure had the appearance. That's why I say at best, they are fools. But at worst, they truly are racist, and you can't do that. And so you need to not be hasty in making rules, because you don't have, even though you have the authority as a board to make new rules and regulations without the vote of membership, you need to ask, is this something that a majority of the homeowners want? So what you need to do is you need to get those homeowners an opportunity to be involved in the process. Bring others into this process. You'll have a better chance at having a rule, having something changed in your governing documents that's going to be well-rounded and even-handed. Okay? Plus, the most important thing, as I mentioned, it allows for buy-in by a majority of the members in the association. And people need to see and understand the importance of a rule before it goes in place. Let me give you an example because that I think makes it very clear. Let's take a look at driving a car, shall we? Now, I think you would agree with me. There is a great difference in the number of tickets that are handed out by patrolway, by policemen for speeding versus driving in the wrong lane. Wouldn't you agree? A lot more. Why is that? Well, there is an immediate importance of one over the other, isn't there? You're driving in the wrong lane, you're going to get into an accident and you're going to get hurt. And that is very clear and that is very sure. Do you have to talk to people about how important it is to stay in the correct lane? No, you don't. Why? Because people see the importance of it. They see the immediate importance of having that rule. And because of that, you can have one little painted line down the middle of the road, and guess what? Most people, unless they're distracted by being on their phone or are drunk, stay on their side of the road, and that's not an issue because people believe in that rule. You have buy-in from a majority of society. That is the reason why you need to be more deliberate with your rules. And then if you're going to change something that's stated in the governing documents, that's going to take a majority vote of all the homeowners. And I think there was no discussion in this article where this particular member who was a landlord received anything saying that there's a special meeting, that there's a special vote of the members to change the governing documents. And the only way you can change the governing documents, not the rules and regulations, but we're talking about bylaws, declaration and covenants, is to have a supermajority vote of all the homeowners. So you have to, it is required by state statute, you have to have a buy-in by a majority of people before you change that. But in this particular case, here was the board that said, oh, we've changed the governing documents, and now it states this. And so, number one, I think the board of directors was probably out of place in how they handled it because they didn't get a vote of the majority of the homeowners. And then number two, what they were doing was clearly discriminatory. They were showing racism. And so you need to, if you're going to change your rules, change your governing documents, you need to be deliberate. And you can see there's an importance to get a buy-in of a majority. If you do, it's not going to be an issue because everybody sees the value of that rule. Well, by looking at the clock here, it looks like we need to take another break, so I'm going to do that. But don't go away. When we come back, I've got another story that I want to tell you about what was considered discriminatory in racism, but from another perspective. And we'll cover that after these messages.